You've thrown the gauntlet, actually. There's no other way around what's happening. I think the big conversation is the party's decision to go at it alone in the 2026 local government elections. There's no turning back from this decision as we speak.
Yes, certainly not turning back for us to contest local government elections. We don't use the concept of going it alone. It's an independent voice of the working class. We'll work with a variety of political and social forces on the ground on the basis of objectives that we want to achieve at a particular level. But at the same time, we could also be in our own name. So I just want to clarify that so that it doesn't, when we bring these other elements, people don't say you have simply said you will go it alone. So
Or the people suggest you're serving the ANC with divorce papers. That's not what you're doing.
no, we're not serving divorce papers. We're an independent political organization. The ANC is. We decided 1994, we took a decision to participate electorally under the banner of the African National Congress. And there's been leadership discussion about how the representation of the Communist Party or Communist Party members should be inside the African National Congress. So there's always been respect for this. But over the years, this process has been went down, has been largely decided by groupings in the ANC, this or that particular faction, on the basis of its association with a particular leadership of the Communist Party. And this has really created problems for us, particularly with regard to the focus, the political focus of what the ANC should do in response to the conditions of the working people on the ground, the poor and the working class as a whole. So it is in this regard that finally we felt that we needed to change the manner in which the alliance functions in the term that we call the reconfiguration of the alliance. This practically meant that we needed to rebuild a new structure, a new strategy on how to approach collective decision making consensually and so forth. So in the absence of that, the SACP decided to contest election on its own.
You mentioned reconfiguration of the alliance. It's also one of those terms, phrases that have actually been there for a really long time. This call, this plea has been there for a really long time. In essence, Solly Mapaila actually rose on a ticket that there might be some reconfigured alliance, better relations. You'll be taken into confidence and along the journey of making decisions together. To me, it seems that this has never found expression. That's why it still remains a conversation that you're talking about. Talk to us about why is it so difficult to reconfigure the alliance? What's gone wrong? Why does it seem that the SACP is almost a lone voice calling for a reconfigured alliance?
The reconfiguration of the alliance is firstly, of course, started by the Communist Party, actually by our Young Communist League at our 2002 National Congress in Rustenburg. And the Congress decided that there should be internal discussions in the party, and we developed discussion papers. In 2005, at our Special National Congress in Durban, this matter was put together to the Special National Congress and resolved. And the 2007 Congress of the party then agreed on this reconfiguration framework, developed a resolution, which we then started discussing with our allies. Ultimately, the entire alliance leadership developed their own perspectives on the reconfiguration of the alliance. The ANC, COSATU, SANCO. But SANCO didn't write a document. They had an NEC discussion, and in the meeting of the alliance, they made inputs. So we developed different documents, we criticized different documents, and finally, in 2019, we released a joint document, an agreed document. When we're supposed to implement this, the ANC raised a concern that they needed an NGC to pass it through to their own structures, but it has gone through the NEC, the top 7 or top 6 at the time. The NGC never happened because of COVID-19. Yes. And later on, when they went to the 2022 National Conference, they never resolved on this thing. well, they never adopted the full document. The president spoke on reconfiguration in his political report, and former Deputy President Tshidi Madia, who presented the organizational report at Congress, also spoke a little bit on this thing, but they were coming from a different perspective, not even embracing the document that they signed off. And that's where the problem started. And last year, we were then surprised when the ANC developed a new document. Not only that, even criticized the Communist Party's notion of reconfiguration as an idea to liquidate the ANC. And they came with a new document called the renewal of the ally, or the renewal of the movement. In this document on the renewal of the movement, for instance, they even criticize the document of the alliance, mistakenly thinking it's a document of the SACP.
One that was agreed upon
The
by
one that was
everybody,
agreed
signed
upon.
off by
So
everybody.
this worries us a bit, because how can leadership structures at the level of the NEC not go through their own documents? So people must take their documents seriously.
What does that say to you, though? Before I even move further, what does that say to you about the quality of leadership in the ANC? Because that's an alliance partner, and the public will judge the working class, the masses, whichever way you want to position it. The public will judge the alliance based on the understanding of how the alliance functions with one another, what they understand about what the mission is, and their responsibilities. What does that say to the Communist Party?
Well, of course, the question of leadership, it's the quality of leadership across all alliance components. It's a matter that is always under constant scrutiny. But certainly, under the current conditions, there have been very, very serious concerns from all elements or sections of the movement about the quality of leadership, the choices we are making. For instance, if you can take an example about the ANC leadership's choice to go with the DA as an, if you like, an ally, and the justification that are shocking shows the level of the quality of leadership that is there. Because any revolutionary movement like ourselves, which pursues a strategic program like the National Democratic Revolution, which is a program to end colonialism, to end the oppression of capital over the people of this country, to end racism, gender inequality, and class inequality. This is what the National Democratic Revolution is about. But to deal with the source of that. The source of that has been European colonialism and later on apartheid. So once we have leadership that collaborate with this particular system, then they have no interest to free their people from any of these interrelated problems of race, class, and gender oppression and colonial control.
The ANC, though, argues that it's a tactical decision to be in bed with the DA. Do you not trust the ANC to be able to manage this relationship with that in mind, so that in the end, they've utilized this relationship to further their goals? I don't know if the question should be, do you think they still understand what the National Democratic Revolution is about and what their mission is, or whether they've sold that out, or whether or not you believe that there's a possibility in the current iteration of governance that they've put together, they can actually strategically utilize it to move the country in the direction that they ought to?
No. I don't think there's clarity about what the National Democratic Revolution stands for today in the movement. It's just rhetoric confirmations by individuals. They can, because we have said something about the NDR and you think you are revolutionary. But I don't think so. And also I believe that to say such a strategic matter of huge consequential proportions, it's tactic. It's also mistaken. It's not tactic, this one. It's a strategic direction that the ANC has decided. The tactic would have been a process in which they are under a tight corner and they want to come out of that particular tight corner. But if you ask, how are they going to come out of this tight corner, for instance? So there's no tactic. It's a direction that they've taken. In fact, one of the leaders of the ANC at one even said, no, when you look at the performance of these people in cabinet, their perspectives are not different from those of the ANC leaders. So in other words, the ANC embracing neoliberalism, which is a system of modern capitalist economy in which the capitalist system lives on the state. They devour the state. They take all that was the responsibility of the state, whether it's education, it's health, its other social services, should be in the hands of the private sector that provides services. So the state just makes laws, regulates, and oversees that everything it's under control. So the people who cannot afford, like in our country where more than half of the population lives in poverty, would have no one to take care of them. That is the reason why we have deepening poverty in the country, because of the capitalist crisis of social reproduction. In other words, capitalism reproduces itself in creating more and more poverty, more unemployment, and more inequality amongst the people, particularly in racial terms between black and white, and so forth. So it is in this regard that to justify this thing as a tactic is actually an insult to those who actually ever understand what the National Democratic Revolution is about.